We're going to start with a special piping by the very piper who played at Travis's funeral, Ogden Kimberly. We're doing this in memory of Travis, but also in memory of Corporal Michael Monkey Monkhouse. He was the drummer of the 1st Battalion Scots Guard, killed 2 weeks ago in Afghanistan by small arms fire. When he joined the service with the Scots Guard, Monkey was not a drummer. He trained and excelled and was honored as the top drummer in his corps. And this piping, as well in memory of Travis, is also at Ogden's request in memory of Monkey.
There was a song written a while back. In fact, it was written on the day that Travis was interned by Kate Powers, called Travis John. And Kate says that she wrote this like she was channeling Travis. Under a foreign sky, my fate awaits me. There but for God go I, do not forsake me. I am a boy full of promise, full of freedom. And now the joy is dead and done. I am gone. There by the western sea, I grew to manhood early. There with my family, I grew to manhood early. I was the one my brother called, my mother called to me her fine young son. And now the joy is dead and gone. I am gone. Finding my way to go, the call that I should answer. My country's own hero, like music to the dancer. I am a boy full of promise, full of freedom. And now the joy is dead and done. I am gone. Under a weeping willow tree, you planted roses. There are my memories, where my eternal ghost is. I was a boy, full of promise, full of freedom. And now the joy is dead and done. I am gone. And now the joy is dead and done. I am gone. Where are we and what are we here for? Well, you were at the Peace Memorial in Portland, Oregon, and it's a beautiful place to have a celebration, not only of Travis and our British soldier, but to celebrate the entry into force of the Convention on Cluster Munitions. It's a UN convention. That's why we're flying the UN flag today on our flagpole. The Peace Memorial is dedicated to the victims of war everywhere. And that includes not only the soldiers, but all the civilians that have died in all of the wars and all the ones that will continue. But because of the Cluster Munition Convention, hopefully there will be less innocent civilians killed by these obscenities that are dropped all over the place. Did you all get a handout? If you didn't, they're up at the table. Joe will be happy to give you one. It gives you a little information on the park. It gives you some information on the inside on what the Convention on Cluster Munitions is all about. And the Peace Park was founded back in 2006 by Veterans for Peace Chapter 72, and it's an all-volunteer activity here. We weed, mow, and water and all that kind of stuff. And 2 years ago, the city decided they weren't going to pay for the water anymore. So, off topic, if you'd like to donate to the Peace Memorial Park Foundation of Portland, Oregon, up at the tent up there, we'll be able to pay our water bills less painfully. But right now, I'd like to introduce Lynn Braddock, mother of Travis Burdach-Nall.
Thank you all so much for being here. Okay. I've done this so often, yet I still hate giving speeches, but that's what I do. I am Lynn Braddock, and I want to thank you for joining me here today to celebrate the entry into force of the Convention on Cluster Munitions. This new treaty bans the use and production of cluster bombs. Dropped from planes, these weapons open in midair and scatter hundreds of deadly bomblets, often killing or maiming innocent civilians. As we gather at this beautiful symbol of peace, let us beat our drums to symbolically pound out the scourge of these horrendous weapons. I have been campaigning for the creation of this treaty for the last 5 years. For one thing, I believe that the world would be a better place if these weapons weren't in it. This is not a political issue. This is a humanitarian issue. Simply put, this treaty saves lives. By mandating that signatory countries destroy their cluster bomb stockpiles, clear cluster munition contaminated land, and assist cluster munitions survivors. But in addition to this, I also have a very personal stake in this treaty. I personally know the pain of these weapons. My son Travis, a corporal in the U.S. Marines, was killed by a U.S. cluster bomb in July of 2003. He was clearing unexploded ordnance from an Iraqi farmer's field near Karbala when one of his friends in the unit, who was standing nearby, accidentally detonated a cluster munition dud. In an instant, the explosion took an eye and an arm from the Marine who touched it and took the life of my son. The Pentagon may try and say that cluster bombs are needed to protect American soldiers, but I would answer that the cost to local civilians is too high, and that U.S. cluster munitions also directly endanger U.S. troops. According to the Government Accountability Office, during the Persian Gulf War, our own cluster bombs killed or injured 80 U.S. troops who had to pass through desert areas scattered with hidden dead cluster munitions. Professional deminers and combat engineers see cluster munitions as the most dangerous kind of unexploded ordnance to clear, because they are designed to pierce armor and are very volatile. These weapons are just not able to discriminate a specific target. Cluster bombs are dropped from planes and scatter hundreds of small, unguided explosives over an area as big as several football fields. When a single weapon impacts an area that big, how do you make sure that civilians aren't killed in the bombardment? Cluster munitions were developed during World War II for use against tanks on vast, unpopulated plains of warfare. They were never intended to be used in cities, villages, or even agricultural areas. But in the last 10 years, the United States has used cluster bombs in civilian-populated areas of Afghanistan, Iraq, and Kosovo. Israel used them on the villages and olive groves of southern Lebanon. Imagine, if you can, if these weapons were used here in Portland or in farming regions throughout the Northwest. How would U.S. civilians not be killed and maimed by the thousands? If they were used here in the United States, we would not stand for this. Now I feel my son Travis watching from somewhere, smashing on a set of drums and saying, "Way to go, Mama. We all have done it. We have a treaty. Now let's get the Obama administration on board." So at this point, let us get on with our part in this celebration of joy, for this event is a true celebration of peace. By the pounding of our drums, we send a message to this administration. It is time for the U.S. to join the treaty to ban cluster bombs.
If you want us to give you a reggae tune to get your drums going, we can do that. All right, all you drummers, you can... Sitting here in limbo, like a bird without a song. Yes, I'm sitting here in limbo. Don't you know that my soul will carry on? I don't know what life will show me. Don't you know that putting up resistance, but I know that my faith will lead me on. Sitting here in limbo, waiting for the dice to roll.
Travis and my two sons attended the same school. Fortunately, I always felt very fortunate that after seeing what their old man had been through, that neither of my sons were very much interested in the armed services, thankfully. An old veteran told me one time that when you're killed by friendly fire, you're still dead. And this young man was stolen away from us. And maybe, had he not have been, might have been here today. But Travis is an example of, there's no better example of the reason why we should ban these horrible weapons. And if it were for no other reason than for this one young man, that's good enough for me, and that's good enough for us. Thank you.
Sitting here in limbo, got some time to search my soul. Don't you know they're putting up resistance, but I know that my faith will lead me I don't know where life will take me. I know just where I've been. I don't know what life will show me. I sure know what I've seen. Got my hand there's love and friendship. That's all past and gone. This little boy is moving on.
My voice alone is not going to do it. Your voice alone is not going to do it. We have to keep getting others to stand up and join us to ban this inhumane weapon. This is so wrong. So let's make it all so right and do this one little act of peace. Thank you so much.
Don't you know they're putting up resistance? But I know